Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's training on Microsoft Forms for education. We're going to take you through today how to use Forms and show you a few hints and tips of the app and how you can use it across other Office 365 solutions as well. My name is Matt, I work for Lords IT, and I'll be guiding you through it today. Our Q&A is open, so you can use that to ask some questions if you have any. Jake's on hand to answer them for you. So if you want to ask them through the presentation, then feel free to, and we'll see what we can do to help. If you want us to go back over anything or anything like that, then please do ask. It's not a problem at all. So we're going to dive straight in and get to know Microsoft Forms. So if you're in education, you should have a license which enables you to use Microsoft Forms, and you can find it quite easily by logging into Office in a normal way that you would. And if you just hit the Forms button at the top, it will take you through to your form view. Now, as you can see here, I've got quite a few forms that I've already made, and I can quickly jump into some of those. So, for example, this one here, I can jump in and have a look at the setup. This is almost just a simple one question form, and I can see that I could add more questions if I wanted to. I can also quickly see my responses as well. So let's just go back to the start and talk through this layout a little bit so we can understand where we are. On here, we've got the ability to create a new form or a new quiz. The big difference between a form and a quiz is a quiz you can award points for the responses, and it can self-mark those. You'd use a quiz more for education with your classes. You'd use a form to collect information or perhaps for a survey. Rather than using a quiz for that. So these are all my individual forms that I've created. So I've got complete control over them. If I press the more form actions on each one, I then get the ability to duplicate. So copy a form if I want to send it again. Maybe I did one last year and I want to do a new one for the new year. Rather than writing it all out from scratch, I'd copy it. I've got the ability to delete it if I've had it and no longer need it, and I've also got the option to move that form. So I can move that form into a particular SharePoint if I wanted to, so that I've no longer got any access to any control over it. It goes into that SharePoint. Shared with me are forms that have been shared with me by others, so they've been created by others, and I've been explicitly shared the form, so I can go in and edit and change the settings on it. And group forms are those groups that have been set up by others and shared from me from an external option on there as well. So let's go back to my forms and we'll go through each option for creating forms. So we're going to create a form first and then we'll create a quiz afterwards. So if I click on new form, I've got the option here to set my title. So I'm going to do that. And what should we do our form on today? We should do our form on what is your favourite takeaway / meal. Not that we're all feeling hungry and missing our meals in this particular time. So that's my title. I'm going to put in my description. And a bit of a sub item there. Now I want to put in a picture, so I can come in here and search Bing and find some food. There we go. I'll have a bit of a breakfast on there and we'll add that into it. You can upload, you can use from your OneDrive, or you can use from your My Computer. I can also here, and it is useful to put in alternative text for screen readers. So that's where people are using screen readers because they've got poor visual on the screens. They can click that and you can put a description in of the image. So I'm just going to put breakfast. Okay, so that's so far what I've done, and I've got the option up the top right here to have a quick look at a preview of it. So I can have a look at that straight away, see what it looks like. I can choose between computer and mobile view. So if I choose mobile, it shows me on a typical mobile screen. With a computer, obviously that's on a computer and a laptop screen. Because it's web-based, it doesn't matter what computer or laptop Mac that they're using, they all look pretty much the same. So let's dive into adding a question. So I've got 4 main choices along the top here, okay? And I also get these recommended options if I want to put them in there, okay? So in this occasion, yeah, let's find out what somebody's name is. And we'll click that and click add selected, and that'll do it. Now, what do I know from here? So this is my first question, and I can see that it's got a red asterisk. That means that it's a required field. If I wanted to change that, I just click on the question and untick the required. If I want it to be a longer answer, some more paragraph, I'll click the long answer. And then I've also got some other options here as well. I can put in restrictions if I want to, so I can base that on the content in there. So I can say it's got to be a number, and if it is a number, it's got to have these functionalities on here as well. But that's not really going to help me for this particular question. And then we can also go branching. So when they've completed that, we can set up a branching, so a way through the questions based on their answers. But we've only got 1 question at the moment, so we won't need that either. Okay, so that's my first question. I'm going to take off the restrictions because I don't want it to be a number. I'm going to add another question. So we're going to go for choice, and so we're going to go they're the same thing. We'll go for Chinese. Add option, we'll go for chips, and we'll add another option and go for molds. Put that into there. So there's my question. Again, it's required. I could choose to allow them to select multiple answers, and I could add another option, which I'm going to do in this case, and that I'll say that they can add one on the end there if they want to. Okay, so on here I can have the option to shuffle the option, or I could have it into a drop down menu if that's what I think is a bit easier. So we'll put that into a drop down menu as well. So we're next going to go for a rating. How would you rate your last? So here they can choose an option. So I'm going to put a subtitle into this one. 1 star means rubbish. 5 stars means amazing. We've got 5 levels. Can put it up to 10 if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep it at 5 at the moment. Can change it to a number or a star. Again, it can be required. Okay, and we'll put that in there. So that's our third question, and we'll put in a date on this one. So we're just going through the options here. So date of last takeaway. Okay, and the options on here, there's only the options to keep the subtitle in there on that one and keep it required as well. Now, if I wanted to move around my entries here, I just use these little arrows to move them up and keep it there. I can also quickly copy the question if I have 2 very similar questions, and I can duplicate them there. But at the moment, I'm happy with the order and layout. So I'm just going to add one last question on there. If I press this drop down arrow here, you'll see I've got a few other options. So I can break up my quiz into sections if I wanted to. I can use a ranking order to move the ranking of the maybe their favorite meal in there. In fact, let's do that. Let's put that in there here. So best brand. So we can have KFC. We can have McDonald's, and go for the healthy option of Subway in there as well. Okay, so the other one that I wanted to add was a file upload. So this is a brand new feature into Forms, and it allows you to upload a file. Funnily enough, that file, when it's uploaded, will go into your OneDrive. Okay, so that's a really neat feature here. So upload a menu. So I can choose how many files they can upload. So I'm going to allow them to do 2. I can choose a file upload up to a gig for them to do it as well. Obviously, when they upload it, it will come out of your allocated space on Office 365. So it's worth bearing that in mind. Okay, and I can limit it to certain file types as well. So I can choose here what I want them to be able to do. So I only want them to be able to do an image or PDF in this option here. So that's all my questions done. So let's preview that again, and we can see how it looks. So we can see my different options here. So this is my ability to be able to order them in my favorite. Okay, and we can see here my option for uploading a file, and with my restrictions down the bottom here as well. Now you'll see when I hover my mouse over the name, I get the option to go into Immersive Reader. So if I click on Immersive Reader, if you haven't seen this before, this makes it accessible for user. Okay, so I can press play, it will play back, or they can click on a word and it will show them either translation if you've got a language set up, or a picture on there as well. And I can change all these settings for my color, my text size, and everything else. Now I do that for myself across the whole of Office 365. So it would open up in whatever the user's set as their preferred way of looking at stuff through Immersive Reader, but it's built in, so it makes it really accessible. If you use it in school, lots of people send these out to parents. And when they send them out to parents, that means that they can obviously translate it live on the screen in front of them to make it easy for them to understand what they need to put into it. So it's very, very useful to have it on there. And again, I can just quickly put it into the mobile preview and I can put it on there. So it's a really useful way, and I'll show you how in a minute, that you can text out these to parents for them to learn as well. But this is looking a bit boring, a bit sad at the moment. So I'm going to press the theme button. And the great thing about this is that it knows, or it tries to know what I'm talking about. So here you'll see I've got a few food related options here. So we've got pizza, we've got burgers and stuff. So I'm going to go for the food and drink one. It's clever enough to look at what my theme is, what my questionnaire, and put a background onto that. That's quite a new feature, and I think it works. I think it works really, really well. Makes them look really professional. So if we jump over onto a preview of that, we can see that it looks quite nice with very little effort from me for doing that. Jump over to the mobile. It doesn't include it on the mobile because of the size of the screen, but it does look good on a computer there as well. So that's my form created. So how do I get it out to people? Well, if I click the share button, I can share it. Now, there is a number of different ways that you can share these. There's 2 main options to decide though. So anyone with a link can respond, or only people in my organization can respond. So I can choose between these 2 options. If I choose anyone with a link can respond, then they don't have to sign in. They can just put all the information in there. Now, the reason why it's currently grayed out is you cannot use that functionality if you've got the file upload on there. If you've got the file upload, you can only have that on ones that are within your Office 365 tenancy, so people who share the same email address as you. If you're using that option and have logged in, you also get the added bonus of having all the usernames and everything and their email addresses stored with it, because it's part of their Office 365 profile. If you go to anyone with a link can respond, you need to make sure if you want to collect the name that you have got the name on there, otherwise you can't get that information. So 2 very important options there. So I can share it using a multitude of different ways. So this is my link, which I can copy and use anywhere. Now you can send that in a text to parents or to staff or students, and you can embed forms into a whole wide range of things as well using that information. I'll come on to that in a little minute and show you what you can embed it into. I can generate a QR code. So these are really good to pop around the school, or maybe put on the kids' work for them to scan with their device. So iPads, phones, tablets, Windows devices with a camera can all scan these and open them up. So it's very useful to have as well. You can also embed it. Now, this is the code that you need to embed it. You can copy and paste that into most websites, and particularly websites that are things like WordPress. You can have it embedded into your website, so they don't even have to leave there to put it back as well. And lastly, I can click on email. If I click on email, it will open up my email program, and I'll be able to send an email with the link already in there as well. So that's how I share it for people to respond, but I might want to share it as a template for others to use. So that allows me to share it to others, and it's their own copy of that form. It doesn't include any of my responses. So maybe that I want each department to work off a template, so I can share that with everybody, and the responses will be different and unique to each one that's sent out. They'll need to share it themselves. I can also share to Collaborate, so that means that I can share that link with anybody else and they can jump into this web session and add their own questions in it as well, and obviously see the responses as they come in. So let's put in a response or two from our poll and see what here. So my name is Matt. My date of my last takeaway was Monday. What is my favourite? Or probably an Indian. How was the last one? It was all right. It's got to be McDonald's first, and then probably Subway, and then KFC. And I've got to upload a menu. You'd be surprised to know I don't have any menus on my computer. So let's just go for a picture on there as well. So we're going to submit that one there. And there we go. My response was submitted. So let me pop in another one, just so we've got a couple in there that we can use. So I'll pick a random name, put it in here, and we'll put the date as yesterday. What is your favourite? I'm going to guess he loves a good McDonald's, this person. 5 stars, probably in that order, I'd imagine. And we'll add on a picture here as well, whatever that picture is there. Okay, so we'll submit that. So we've got our 2 there done. So if we head back to here, I can jump into the responses, and I see that I've got 2 responses here already. So what do I get on my response view? Well, I get how many responses I've got, the average time to complete it, and the status of my my questionnaire. So I can close my questionnaire when I don't want anybody to answer it anymore. If I head into settings, I can do a start and end date here. I can also get a notification, set up some notifications and such like. I'll come back to that in detail and work through the settings with you in a minute, but just to let you know that you can set a start and end date for your questions on there, so people can only put them in your way. So you can see here I've got my 2 respondents, and I've got my date of last takeaway in there, quite easy for to see. I've got a live bar chart of what people like, an average of their responses, and I can have a look here that McDonald's was the first choice, 100%. In fact, on both of them we put it in a way, so it gives us a breakdown of them as well. And I can see the files here that somebody's submitted. Now I can't actually see the contents of the file, but I can see that they've uploaded something on there as well. So from here I can go and look into the individual results. So if I click on view results, it allows me to scroll through the different results I've done. Now notice it's got Matthew Setchell twice. That's because it's using my login, and that's where it gets the responder name from for it. Okay, so I can delete or print individual responses using the ellipses on the side here, but I can also see their individual ones. Now I don't think, no, I can't change them, luckily, so I can just view them. But if I click on this file here, it will open the file that we've put across there and uploaded, so I can see that quite easily. So if I jump back across, go through to my second respondent, I can see all their information in there as well. So if we jump back, I can now download that information into Excel. So if I press that button there, it will open in Excel. Now I'm just going to open it up and share that with you so you can see what it looks like. So you'll be able to see here, this is my downloaded Excel file. So whenever I click to download it, it will download the latest copy of it with all the information in from that point onwards. Here you can also see that I can use this to filter as you would do in Excel normally. So I've got all that information in there, and I can edit it if I want to. So it's very, very useful for collating that information and putting it into Excel. So if we jump back across to the form screen, we have got some other options here as well. So on the more options, the one that lots of people don't realize is there, but is really useful, is this create a summary link. So it creates a summary, which I can quickly copy, and I could email that to somebody, and they'd be able to see this overview of responses live as they come in. So it's really useful for having those responses available to people. Perhaps you're doing something in the class and you want them to look at it live. They'll be able to refresh it and see the responses change there. And just to prove that fact, let's put another response in and we'll see it update. So Boris down here, give him a data like last takeaway. He's probably having them every night at the moment. Chips, he looks like he enjoys some chips. And let's put it on Subway up to second, and let's upload some link there. So let's upload that one. Oh, we'll go for Novatech Connect. We'll upload the picture, click submit on there as well. And if we jump back, we can refresh this. We've got our 3 responses now. We can see our breakdown happening live here. We can see the breakdown of the best brands, and we can see all the attachments as well. So because this is a public link, they won't be able to click and have a look at the attachments, just in case there's something in there that you don't want them to see. But it's a really good way if you want to share it with the people perhaps higher up or elsewhere in your organization, but you don't want them necessarily messing with it all, then that's a good option to share your results with them live on the screen. So if we jump back into Microsoft Forms, and we'll jump back to the main page, we can see that is all set up, and we just say we was going to go onto our settings. Here we can change the information. We can also limit it to 1 response per person. We don't have to record the name, so that's quite useful if you do want it to be anonymous, but you only want people in your organization to access it, so you can change those settings there. You can turn on and off the ability to accept responses, the start, the end date. You can shuffle the questions in random order. You can set a custom thank you message for the end when they submitted it, and you can ask for emails to be sent when they've done. So you get an email each time they do it, or it sends a receipt to the person saying thank you for your submission. So very useful just to poke around there in the settings and do that. You can also do it multilingual, so you can have another language in here. So for example, you could have some German in there, and if you click on edit, you can put in the live translations here. Now it's actually live translated it for you on here, as you can see, and I believe that means right on some of them where it has live translated, but you can go in and edit them as well and change them. Okay, so that is how we create and get responses on a form. But we had this option for quizzes, so we're going to jump into quizzes now. So if we go back to forms by clicking the forms icon on the top left hand side, and we go down to new quiz, you can see it looks exactly the same as creating a new form. The big difference is that if I have a choice question, such as what is the capital of France, I can have here an option 1, which is obviously correct. And you can see here it suggests another capital, so we can quickly just click in on them. Let's have a few to do it, and then when I hover my mouse over it, I can say that's the correct answer. Okay, I can also press the little comment button here, which allows me to display a message to respondents if they select that one. So here, there we go, encouraging a message for them there as well. And I can say when they complete this one, that is one point for their answer, and I can have it required. So if I have multiple answers, I could have multiple as the right one as well. I can get them to shuffle it as well, and that'll be my first one. Let's add a different one in as well. Okay, so if we go to choices and we go down here to maths, it does some really cool stuff here for maths. So I can use the online calculator, so I can do, I don't know, 85 times 10. Okay, put that in there. So here it suggested some responses for me. So I can add all of them, and it's already marked which one's the correct one for me. So I don't even have to mess around with working it out or anything like that. It will be able to work out those options for me. And on that one, I want 2 points. So let's add a nice theme onto this one. Where are we here? We'll go for this one. And let's here give it a name. Okay, so if we then preview it, let's have a play and see if we can win. Oh, I think it might be Madrid. Fairly sure that one's 850. So let's submit that. And I've got this new button here to view my results. So I get live and instant feedback there on what I've put in. So I can see exactly what my responses was based on my score straight away on that page. So for me, that's instant feedback. And for the teacher, they go into responses, they get a really good breakdown of how their class is doing and what they can learn in those times as well. So if I also open up this one in Excel, it'll give me a real good breakdown of what answer people chose, so I can have a look at, you know, how I can perhaps give them some additional help. You'll notice here that I've got the review answers button. So it allows me to see what individuals have got, so I can go through individual people within here and have a look at what they managed to get, and I can see which ones they managed to get wrong on there as well. And if I head back and go to post scores, this allows me to post the scores. If we just click on the preview first. So that just allows me to preview that page. So if we just go back, and I'll just select me, post the scores, then those scores get posted for me to see and for everybody else to see as well, that I've selected in my class. So that is through the Teams app, which we showed yesterday. So it's very easy to use, very quick to do it. It's got some nice maths features in there. It's got some nice options there for the capitals, not the capitals, sorry, for questions where you can set the capitals and so forth on there. So it's really more powerful than what it looked at first glance. And you can see there lots of useful features. But where it really comes into our own is how it's integrated with other elements of Office 365. So, for example, if I am doing a PowerPoint, I will jump across the PowerPoint. And I'm fairly sure, if I remember correctly, I can insert here a form. I'm fairly sure. Maybe I've jumped across to the wrong one. So let's go into a OneNote and do it in that way. So new blank notebook. So on my blank notebook, let's create a page. If I've got my notebook and I've got this as I've embedded into my Teams, and I've got that all built in there when I'm using that with my class, I can embed one into there. So I can click on insert and I can go to forms here and it will find my form. So here's my Maths Random form, and I can put that into Maths Random quiz into there, and you'll see that I'll embed it directly into the OneNote. So because I've already done it, it's already showing me my outcome there. It knows that it's me, and I've already done it. If I hadn't have done it, I'd be able to go back and do it again. So you can get able to do therefore complete the test through here in OneNote straight away. And if I jump back to Sway as well, and I do a new blank Sway, so I can create my Sway, and we'll do another session on Sway in futures, but I can embed in here straight away on one of these ones here. I can embed a form. So if I use the embed code, which you saw earlier on, I can use the embed card, or I can click on Microsoft Forms and it gives me an example how to do that. So I'll just copy the embed code and paste it into there, and then that'll be on my Sway. So you can create a Sway full of content which teaches them. At the end of it, you can grade them on how they've performed. The other thing that you can put it into really easily is Teams. So if I jump onto my team here, and I'll jump into Lords IT, and on here along the top of my channel here, so if we go down to the testing one, I've got my testing one here. So if I click add a new tab, and I've got a forms button here, so I can add an existing form, add that one there, and click save. And it will display my form along the top of that channel, so you can give them all it to do. Again, I've already done it. It already knows that I've done it. Can't do it twice. So there it allows me to view it. But if they haven't, they'll be able to go in there and fill it in, and it'll be individual for each individual user. So forms are really accessible to use across the whole of Office 365, across a variety of programs. You'll see it quite often pop up, so that you can embed it into there as well. And you can use that across the whole of Office 365. You can put them into your SharePoints, and you can use them all across, as I say, across everything as well. So just to finish off, just to let you know as well that the forms that you can use, like we showed in a previous video, all about how to use the Power Automate and SharePoint, and the entry of data into a form can be the trigger for one of those. So you could have an action happen because somebody's can put an entry into a form as well. So have a look at the Power Automate video if you're interested in that. You can get it at lordsit.org.uk/videos, and then you can have a look and see how that may work for you as well. But for me and for forms, that's it for today. So my name's Matt Setchell. If you've got any questions after today's session, you can head over to Twitter, where I'm at msetchell, and give me a shout and ask me any questions that you've got. You can also visit Lords Support at Lords Support, which is Lords IT. You can visit our website at lordsit.org.uk, and if you need any help at all, then head over onto our help desk, which is help.lordsit.org.uk, where there are loads of guides on using Office 365, loads of solutions there for stuff already. And if you hit on the forums tab, we've got a helpful forum here where you can jump in and ask any questions that you've got, whether you're a customer of ours or not, and discuss that stuff with other educators. We're going to leave the question and answer up briefly now on the side. If you've got any questions, give us a shout. If not, thank you for watching.